Welcome back to the Four Podmen, your weekly dose of pro wrestling that we bring you on the Dynamo Podcast Network. Head over to YouTube, smash that subscribe and bell notification button. Audio versions of the show are available through Spotify, Podbean, Apple iTunes, or wherever you pick up your audio shows. And if you'd like to contact the show, we're on Facebook, the Four Podmen, or on Twitter at TPodmen. Joining me today for a very special episode, a man you'll recognise from the Collector's Corner, Stephen Mahoney. Stephen, how you doing, my man?
How's it going, Niles? What's the story?
Good to have you on again. Well, what we're going to do here
Thanks very much for having me.
Good. We're going to continue our series here now, where we look back at iconic matches that shaped the landscape of pro wrestling. And with Stephen being such a huge Undertaker fan, we said there was nowhere to look but WrestleMania 30, the breaking of the streak. What was your thinking on this? I'm sure this was a sad day for you.
I honestly can't remember the match that happened after because I was in total shock for, I'd say, at least a half an hour after the match. Like, there was a lot of us watching, like the family were watching it. And we were just like, no, that couldn't have happened. Because Justin Roberts didn't announce it straight away. Even he paused and they were like, something's after happening here. There's something going on. And it took them a good 2 minutes or something to announce that Lesnar was the winner. But it was just like probably one of the biggest shocks to me anyway.
Isn't it amazing the way Vince does that? Like, he keeps the results even back from the staff, the internal. So the shock factor is there for everyone, if you like, you know. My memory of this was I was absolutely shocked by this. I personally, I'm not the biggest Undertaker fan in the world, and nowhere near you guys without a shout. But I was very shocked at this. I never thought we'd see a day where the streak could go. I've been to a number of WrestleManias. I've seen him wrestle the best. And you know, when he's gone through the likes of, I mean, when you rattle off the names, the Randy Ortons of this world, Shawn Michaels twice, Triple H twice, CM Punk, Bray Wyatt, and the list goes on and on and on. And he's never dropped the streak to any of these. So, like, why suddenly would he drop the streak to Lesnar? And I know there's been a lot of talk about that. I mean, in some regards, Taker will turn around and he will say, well, Vince made the call on it. Other information that we know was that Lesnar went down to Taker's ranch and spent a lot of time in Florida training with him, putting this match together and stuff like that. So I don't really know whether it was a last minute call to drop the streak. We've also seen interviews with Taker where he has turned around and said that he felt Brock was the man and it was time for Brock, you know. So it's kind of hard to know who made the overriding decision. What I would say is two men in collaboration in a wrestling match entered the ring and made a decision on the outcome. And it was within there, like, I'm sure with Taker, with the pull he has in WWE, if he didn't want to drop the streak to Lesnar, all he had to do was turn around and go, it's not happening, and then it wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, so I mean, he must have been reasonably all in on it, you know what I mean? So I don't know whether that sort of the counter arguments there hold up or not, but either way, it was certainly monumental at the time. So what we're going to do is we're obviously going to take a look at the match, and what we're going to do is we're going to commentate through the match on different aspects of the match and stuff like that. And I'm sure you're well versed in this. Is it a case, have you watched the match an awful lot of times, or is it a case it's a match that you just cannot watch?
It's a match I watched it once, and I think I've watched, we say, snippets of it on Facebook, but I've only watched it in its entirety the night it happened. Okay. And I haven't really watched it, so that's what, 7 years ago now.
Yeah,
I think that was probably the last time I think I've watched it in its entirety, you know.
Okay, I remember at the time as well, there was a guy in the UK who withdrew his life savings. If you remember this story, he withdrew his
I heard about that. Yeah,
and he put all his money on Taker to win. And I think it was about
like 40 grand or something.
Yeah, I think it was
40 grand or something.
Yeah, it was 40 grand, and he was going to win 5 grand. So for 40 grand, he was going to get 45 back. And I'm sure he was thinking, this is the handiest 5 grand I'm ever going to win. I can't imagine.
Exactly.
I can't imagine. And apparently he didn't tell the wife either that he had withdrawn the life savings and done the bet. He was trying to win a few quid to go on holidays or something like that. It was the story. I can't imagine that walk up that staircase that day to let his wife know that he just lost their life savings. So interesting conundrum there.
The only It was $5,000 put to a divorce.
There was no money for divorce.
Had
I'd
to have
say she
been.
just threw the case straight into the front
No, it
gates.
was swapped. The $5,000 was swapped. He thought he was getting $5,000 back. What he got was a divorce.
Absolutely, yeah. So it was the madness of wrestling fans at times, or people. But again, if me or you were talking hours before this event, we would have thought that would be a very safe bet.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So
But
let's
another thing that was another thing that was at the happening as well was they had. I think it was either Sasha Banks or Kevin Owens said it, that during the match 22-0 flashed up on the screen, and then it was taken back down straight away, and then the 21-1 was put onto it. So maybe it was a last minute call, and Taker was supposed to win, but then Vince made the call because he's notorious for just calling these things literally, we'd say 10 minutes before the match is supposed to happen. He's done it in the past.
I'd say these
He's
guys.
done it.
I'd say these guys in the graphics department and in all that kind of stuff, they were told to be prepared for both. But I'd say no one was told the outcome of the match. I'd say there was only three.
Not even the ref.
I'd say there was only 3 people in that building that night that knew what that match outcome was going to be. I mean, you could tell by Justin Roberts, you could tell obviously by the graphics guys. You know, you can even tell
Paul
Heyman, the look on people's faces. I wonder even, I'd imagine Paul must have been in on it, but I mean, to look at his face when it happened, I mean, you would think he wasn't at all. Right, let's get into the match and we'll press play on this. This is going to be a lot of fun. So whenever you're ready to go, all set.
On we go, boss.
Here we go.
Yep.
So we're starting here. What an absolute stage. The stage was unbelievable. Like
that's the one thing that I always look forward to WrestleMania every year, is looking at what the stage is going to be like and what they're going to change up from it. And I haven't been disappointed yet looking at the stages that they've had.
Yeah, you've got
like the 3 joint X's, like,
yeah, looked cool. You have Heyman coming out with a swagger on him. Heyman, so I've got, which leads me to believe that he might have known, but he had a hell of a swagger on. Lesnar, I don't think I've ever seen Lesnar in better shape. I mean, he absolutely must have worked his back end off for this match. And the beanie is real kind of synonymous with him when he was in the MMA with the UFC and stuff like that. So this guy, he was walking out and he was all business, you know, but he just looks like an absolute.
Yeah, he knew what he was going into, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
He's just soaking up the crowd there and stuff like that, and eat, sleep, conquer, repeat on the beanie, you know. But you can even tell by Lesnar's face. His face is chiseled. He had dieted into shape and stuff like that. You know what I mean? He didn't have that kind of puffy face that he normally has. He was trimmed down.
Yeah,
for
exactly.
This. He wanted to look the business. You know,
whatever chin he had, I think he gave it to Heyman. That like said, "Hold this from."
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, if you have a crowd that size, you're obviously going to soak it in. Like, what was there, like 70, 80 odd thousand people that night in New Orleans?
Oh, absolutely. At least, you know what I mean? High 60s anyway, into 70s where it was shot over there. And it's gas, isn't it? When you think about it, there's probably, whatever it is, 70,000 fans at this, and not one of them think Brock Lesnar's going to win.
Yeah.
Not one of them.
They're walking, like Brock is walking out with the L, you know?
Yeah.
And then to think Lesnar's probably walking in saying, all the title matches I've had, all the WrestleManias, this is probably the biggest of my career.
Absolutely. And I remember there was a lot of debate about this as well, because you can see that he has his sponsors on his shorts and all and stuff like that. And apparently,
so people were going to make the transition.
Yeah, well, this was kind of interesting as well, because a number of wrestlers had sponsors, if you remember, and they weren't allowed at the time put their sponsors on their ring gear. WWE, as far as now, blocked it. Yeah, but when Lesnar came in, Lesnar just said to Vince, "I'm putting my sponsors on my shorts," and I think Vince said, "Okay."
Okay.
So that's,
we don't want the smoke off Lesnar. We don't want the smoke.
Yeah, absolutely. So he looks. You're looking at Lesnar here walking around the ring, absolutely focused, dead-eyed on the ramp. Heyman,
that helicopter view as well, something else.
Yeah, unbelievable. Heyman is I always love that. I love when they do that scan back into the crowd and you nearly see the whole stadium. It's you can't put in words. I mean, we've obviously been there, we've been at one, but when you're in that crowd and you're trying to soak it in, it's incredible, isn't it? So then, of course,
and then that wait, then we have that wait then to hear that ominous gong.
So here we go. We have all the caskets lined up. And Taker
yeah,
knows about
that's what's getting done right now. Yeah. There he comes.
Gonzalez.
The Druids.
Unbelievable. Like, it's just, God, he's so iconic,
but then
isn't he, Taker?
As you said, you look at the list of who's on it now. We say minus Joey Gonzalez because he has turned around and said that, like, Gonzalez took years off my career. But they're Taker's words himself. Gonzalez took years off his career, and he was only 3 years there at that stage. So in his words, he didn't have any pull in them days because he was still fairly new.
Yeah, absolutely. He's like the way they push the boat out big time for Taker is kind of incredible, isn't it? Like, it's just,
and that's mainly down to Vince because like Taker would probably come up with a little idea and then Vince would just turn it into something astronomically and phenomenally just amazing.
I know that whole graveyard scene there because when I was at Mania 25, they had a huge graveyard set up at the fan access with all the names on the headstones. And not only that, they had an open grave with Shawn Michaels on the headstone and the shovel beside the clay. It was incredible.
Deadly.
You know what I mean? And until you're sitting there. So here we have now the whole stadium here is dampened down with the lights. And obviously you get the purple coming in and you're gonna get the lightning and all that kind of stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Lightning coming through. That iconic symbol and the smoke and everything and all, you know.
And I love how it's the same with John Cena. When John Cena's entrance first starts, they pan around we say this side of the crowd would be the right hand side. But for Taker, they always come up the back of the crowd just to show the whole stadium and then the arena.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. It's like that rising up from hell, isn't it?
Yeah.
To give you that kind of effect. His ring gear as well for this is outstanding, isn't it?
It's some designs.
Yeah. I never liked the hooded one. I always think the hat is iconic.
Yeah. Now the hooded one with the spikes on it for 28. Now that was fairly badass. I like that one. There.
Yeah. I just, you know what it is? I always associate an Undertaker with the black hat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean? Because you see it even if you look at the old horror movies as well. You know, you just see it. And here we have now. He's staring at the casket. The casket with Lesnar is open.
You got that good ministry beard going on there as well.
Yeah, darkened right down. Yeah.
Oh yes, there you go. Open up.
I suppose we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about Taker as well. We spoke about Lesnar being in unbelievable shape, but Taker was in unbelievable shape for this as well. I suppose that's the benefit of both these guys training together for nearly a month down at Taker's ranch. Here we see caskets after going up in flames. Look, at no point am I thinking he's going to drop the streak here, right? Even with an entrance like this.
Not a thing. It's just so good, you know.
That jacket, that ring jacket as well is incredible.
It's the only one that I think he ever used color in as well.
Yeah, but it's not overly. Do you know what it is? It's not overly.
It's just with the straps are red, and I think just the inside of the lapels as well.
Yeah, you could say it's fairly straightforward for him, but as you said, there's a bit of color in it. But it suits him perfect because it is, even though there's color in it, it's kind of dampened down a bit. Some of his jackets sometimes they're a bit too much, but with this one, it's just. What it said to me when he was walking out was that he's all business for this match, and it's just like this is the pinnacle. I mean, he's going against. I mean, as you said, when you go through the names all in that street there, and so many of them you can dismiss, he's going in against prime Brock Lesnar here, who's in the shape of his life. You know what I mean? This
definitely,
You know, this is. you know, we talk about how great the matches with Sean and the matches with Triple H were, but this is a different animal. This is a guy who doesn't know his own strength. You know what I mean? This is a guy who'll ragdoll you around the ring for fun. You know what I mean? There's an iconic picture there now before he's just made the turn to the steps, of course.
I think I'm a second or two behind you, but I'll catch up with you.
Yeah, no, don't worry about it. It's fine.
Yeah, he said as well, when people often say, like, why is it you walk so slowly down to the ramp? People have thought, including myself as well, they'd have thought that most of his injuries would be catching up on him and all, but him saying, I know when I'm going to have a good match and I know when I'm going to have a bad match. And you guys would know that as well. If I'm going to have a good match, I'm fast walking to the ring. If I'm going to have a bad match, I'm going to soak all that in and make them wait, because he knew himself that he was going to have either a good match or a bad match. And I think this is one of them where he was going to have a good match, and that's why it was the quick walk down to the ring.
Yeah. I really like that jacket and hat. That's to me is, you know what I mean? That's the business. And then the backdrop as well, where you have the stage there with all the caskets up in flames and the lightning coming down and all. This is proper stuff here, you know what I mean? I like that, even that band around the hat there, you know, stinks of death.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's cool, like, you know what I mean? You've Lesnar nice, here now. Yeah. Lesnar, interesting here. Lesnar came in feeling all cocky and strong and stuff like that, but in his face there, you can see, because we know about it now, there's a kind of a nervousness in him, is there, about what's about to happen? You know what I mean? You can see it in him.
It's like, in a way, much like what Taker done before, there was 2 prior WrestleManias where Taker wanted the streak to end. He wanted it to end at 21 when he fought Randy Orton, because Randy Orton had the whole legend killer gimmick going. So he'd have thought this would totally propel this kid. But Randy said no, he didn't want to break the streak.
Yeah.
Then at WrestleMania 24, when he fought Edge for the world title, that was another one where Taker said, I want the streak to end. And Edge said, no, I don't want it. So Lesnar's probably feeling the exact same thing that those 2 boys are feeling. I know that I have to end this, but I don't want to end it. It should continue.
Yeah. Here we have a face-off here now, and it's what was you thinking on the mohawk?
He was so tan, wasn't he?
Yeah, but what was you thinking on the mohawk?
I didn't like it. I just
no.
The long black hair again, much like you said, much like the ring gear. You know, Taker's hair is a part of his ring gear. You know, it's the long black hair is synonymous with the Undertaker, because he's had it since he came in from 1990 right up to 2003 when he shaved it off to become Big Evil.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know.
Yeah, they're after just locking up there Taker with a series of punches there. Brock's after reversing him into the corner. What a belly!
There he goes. Yeah, bang, bang, bang. Best pure striker, as they say. But even a lot of people have said it, like when Taker's punching you, it doesn't even feel like it, because like he's just pinpoint accuracy, where he literally stops 1 second. There we go, bang. He stops literally 1 second before he knows he's going to make a connection.
God, you're spot on. You're spot on there, aren't you? He was first in the queue for the spray tan, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was very tan
to the gills. Yeah.
And then you look at him then at WrestleMania 31, then when he fought Bray Wyatt, he's as white as a ghost. Yeah. And you're like, what happened to you, man?
Spray tan, I got the night off.
On the spray tan.
Yeah.
Packing on the spray tan before the match.
He's so much tan on him, you can barely make out the tattoos. The tattoos just look like a blur with the tan. And especially with Lesnar as well, because Lesnar's tanned up there, but Lesnar's kind of a white boy, you know, that kind of way. So even when you tan him, it takes a lot of time to darken Lesnar down, you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, there's a lot of exchanges here. These are 2 big men in here, you know, really, really putting in there, you know what I mean?
But if it was anybody else, you know, like, it'd be a ragdoll now for Lesnar. But I think it's with Taker, it's a different ball game altogether. Like, if that was a John Cena or if it was a Seth Rollins, you know, that'd be, you know, Suplex City all the way.
Yeah. I like Lesnar the way as well. He's gone to his old school mode as well there, like whipping Lesnar's shoulder into the post, you know. which I think is it's classic Undertaker, if you like, in terms of the way he's doing it.
It's that methodical pace. This is my yard, and you ain't getting it.
But it's that methodical kind of way of working a body part and breaking a guy down. He just worked the other shoulder there into the other post on the outside, So it's very, very impressive,
Yeah. And we have to watch as well, because there's a point in the match where he does get concussed, and I think I might know when it is, but I could be wrong. And I'll let you know when it comes up. You probably might know it yourself, but Taker himself said that he can't remember at what point in the match it was that he was concussed, but I think I might know when it is. There we go, old school. And Taker as well, you wouldn't think like a man that's near 7 feet tall, over 300 pounds, to move the way he can. Everybody says like Lesnar's the freak athlete, but Taker as well, like the athletic stuff that he could do.
He's much lighter there though, isn't he? What's he there? I'd say is he about 260, 270 there?
Yeah, he's billed as 299, but he looks about
He's trimmed right down for this. And looks amazing, in fairness.
Yeah.
I love the way both of them are so snug with their punches as well. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, at times when people are doing those punches, they're kind of way off and stuff like that, and it looks a bit sort of hokey, if you like. These guys are laying punches in. These guys, you can tell after training with each other for a month, they wanted to have a proper old scrap off each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Got Taker up here now on the apron, about to drop that boot.
Going for that leg drop. There we go. The kick first. Bang. There you go.
Awesome.
You always get that little big boot first, and then he goes for the leg drop.
It's such an impressive move, isn't it, as well, for a man of his size, because he gets such air time on it as well, So it's so impressive.
Yeah.
Just incredible as an athlete,
And it looks like it would decapitate you as he's coming down. It looks like he will just cut your head off.
This is Taker now feeling he has the momentum there now.
Yeah, the match is in my pace now. Yeah. I have it.
God, that was so impressive as well, wasn't it? That reversal of the choke slam. That reversal of that choke slam into the F5. My God.
But that's the same. Like, and that F5 is like a sweet chin music. It can be pulled out from anywhere.
But see, the thing that we forget in this as well, like these lads are flipping in and out of moves here, like the cruiserweights. These lads are, they're close to 300 pounds, if not 280. You know what I mean? And they're like, to have that interaction where you're going for a choke slam, into an F5 and then reversed again. You're throwing a bit of beef around.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
That Lesnar shape's incredible.
And like, considering the problems that Lesnar had as well with the stomach and all, like that thing that nearly killed him.
Yeah, like, the diverticulitis. Yeah, he looks incredible here. I love that real old school forearm into the face there off Taker.
That's old school.
Lesnar with a filthy schoolyard trip.
Yep.
See, that's what I'm talking about. I love this kind of, this old school mentality to it type of thing, where it's kind of like,
here it is, right? Bang! I think that's where it happened when Lesnar hooked Taker's leg and planted him on the ground. I think that's where the concussion might have happened.
He banged the back of the head, did he, off the floor, did he?
And it snapped, yeah. Okay. So I'd say that's where the concussion happened, and then Taker just said, "I'm out of juice." Lesnar, like, you can probably even see it there, how slow he is getting back to his feet, and like how loose his punches are. Like, his punches are even looser.
Yeah, well,
here.
He looks like he's already let Lesnar know, because Lesnar's now playing the psychology card here, where he slowed it right down to give him a chance to recover. But he's also working him in a messy kind of way, nasty little knees to the ribs and stuff like that, and boots to the kind of face and stuff like that.
Keeping it real. And I think what was good about Lesnar as well was Lesnar would never sell to anybody else. But for him, like just when Taker went for that forearm or the elbow into the head there on the outside, Lesnar just completely dropped to his knee and grabbed the apron. You know, he wouldn't sell really like that to anybody because, as you know, he's built as this unstoppable monster, this beast.
So he's just giving him now. This is just a real old school beating here, but he's nice and slow about it. There's nothing fast about it. He's giving him this opportunity. If we believe what you were saying there about the concussion, giving him an opportunity to recover a little bit. See the little kick to the back of the leg and all to be able to step away.
Taker said something to him there. I couldn't really make out. It was just kind of like a one little word thing. I don't know what he said to him.
Probably telling him I'm back.
Boom.
Just that mohawk on him just looks so weird. Got Brock now trying to twist the leg clean off here.
You see, when he came back at 28, when the head was shaved, it wasn't too bad. But then when the whole lot came off, like I think the first time we'd seen the proper mohawk like that was on the 1000th episode of Raw when he came out and helped Kane. And the hood came off. He didn't quite get the hood off the way he wanted it to. But when that came off, that was where the full mohawk was on show. And it was just like, didn't suit him at all.
You got the crowd willing Taker on here, and you got Lesnar to the outside.
You can see him there. He does not know where he is.
Oh, he's back in it there now, though. Like Lesnar hit him with an old school kick there to put him up in the air, and then he's back in. He fought back a little bit there, and then Lesnar's after whipping him into the party, and there's some mad deal there. There's Brock Lesnar guy in the background, the guy that we know in the crowd. This guy dressed up as Hulk Hogan.
Oh, there he is. Yeah, with the feather boa on him.
Yeah.
Oh, there, yep. Up Hogan.
God, the crowd are really into it, aren't they? Crowd are all on their feet. They're mad into it.
Because I think, like, in my opinion, now I might be wrong in saying it, but I think a Taker match at Mania up to that point to WrestleMania 30 was better than any title match that you could ever get.
Yeah.
And I think the one person that really put the radar on wanting to get the streak every year, can you remember who that was?
No, go ahead.
JBL. After No Way Out in 2009, when he lost the title to Cena, he was the one that came out and said, I'm going to go to WrestleMania 25 and I'm going to break the Undertaker streak. And I think that's where the radar was put onto it then.
Well, from what we know, Mania 25, that was never going to happen because JBL, I think, had a 10-second match with Rey Mysterio because of his back injury.
Yeah, and he lost the IC title.
God, Lesnar here is just dripping in sweat. My God, it's just flown off.
Yeah.
I'd say the heat in that stadium must have been unbelievable as well, especially New Orleans being so warm. Like,
was that an open air or was that just in the stadium?
I think it's open. I don't know whether I presume they had the roof open as well, but it's
yeah.
God, I can't imagine the heat underneath those lights and stuff like that. And
exactly, yeah.
Even the heat coming off that amount of people around them must have been incredible. God,
exactly, yeah.
God, Lesnar's punches are fantastic, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Like just little snap body punches, just doing a number on Taker here.
You can see it as well. Like Taker's eyes are like two donuts, they're glazed over.
Yeah.
And he, like, with the head going right back and all, like he just looks like he does not know where he is, and just hanging on the ropes like that. It's old school boxer now coming in with quick little snap lefts and a heavy right. Vintage Undertaker, quote Michael Cole.
That whip off the ropes into that DDT, the airtime he gets on it and everything and all is incredible. Like it's nearly like it's in slow motion. Fans propping up the 22-0. Fans are confident here at the moment. The comeback is on. The 22-0 is out in the crowd.
Taker's even said it himself. Taker said it himself that like the stuff that he could do physically, like it was totally watered down when he went because it wouldn't have fit with the character. But he was saying he could see, say, little spots in the match where he do the flying clothesline or something like that, kind of putting in what he used to do when he was in WCW as main Mark Callis, which was only a short-lived run. Stupid Ted Thornton.
Big Bill. Awesome. Crowd are fired up.
Yep.
God, doesn't he throw that leg drop so good in his timing and his arching of it and all? It's always on the money.
Yeah,
you know,
it's just that little bounce that you get.
But he always makes sure that your face is landing right in the arch of it and stuff like that. He's always so crisp in his work, you know.
One of the safest workers ever, I think. Because I can even remember when the invasion was happening, and you see all the crowd was in the ring, and Taker was over, say, in the corner, and there was a chair there, and I think Angle was going to be planted on you. You just see Taker kicking the chair out of the ring because he knew if that move, Angle was on top of that.
God, that was a vicious close. That was a vicious choke slam. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Lesnar kicking out on 2, I think it was.
Yeah.
Look at Heyman. Heyman's not sure. God, I wonder did Heyman know?
I'd say
Lesnar here with a reversal.
You see, because like
what an
with Heyman, it's like you wouldn't know what to believe. Like, as he was given the press conference, like he just said, Lesnar goes in and Lesnar does what Lesnar wants.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the airtime he got off that F5 even there,
kick out.
You know, and you know, Taker, the size of Taker, like, and he still gets him up there. You know, the strength of Brock Lesnar is unbelievable. Incredible. You know? Heyman now looking very, very serious in his work here on the outside.
Because like he's so good with his reactions and all, like after the match, it's like, oh my God, you wouldn't know if he knew or if he was genuinely shocked to what happened, you know.
Lesnar's some gas tank, hasn't he? For a guy of his size, he's some athlete, isn't he? Like the gas tank.
And the one thing I've never seen Taker do in a match is sweat. Like he could wrestle an hour and still not budge, you know. Like a bit of sweat wouldn't budge out of him.
He hasn't been there for that arm bar, is it? But I don't know.
There he goes, straight into Hell's Gate.
Yeah, but I thought, why? It's a weird one that he's pulling down on the head because it kind of looks weird, doesn't it? Jeez, look at the strength of Lesnar. My God.
Yeah.
That was one there now. You can see that they're getting a little bit tired now because he just about got that one away. But again, you're talking about like that would have required a lot of brute force strength because you know there was no way that Taker could have helped there with the leverage on that or like that. You know, I mean that was him lifting up Taker dead weight there.
Yeah, literally, yeah, dead weight.
You have Taker here reaching for the ropes here, doing his Rocky Balboa moment.
As he always does, yeah.
Get
up, you son of a bitch.
It's because Mickey loves you.
He's out there now looking for Michelle. Michelle!
As not dragging him back out into the middle of the ring. That was so weird because this time he stepped back into it, but the arm isn't through the leg. The arm's on top.
He didn't get all of it.
Well, he didn't get any of it because the arm is on top of the leg. It's not through the leg, and And Lesnar's still selling it, of course, which is absolutely cool, you know.
True profession. But he puts it kind of to the other way, so it makes it look like it's a bit arched over. So we do have a bit of control on it, you know.
The strength of this, good lord, boom! The impact of that, my god. Trending there. We just see there back then trending on Twitter, the Streak versus the Beast.
Got all of that time.
That was some impact there. His head snapped back there off that, didn't it? Just watching the replay of that there. That was now. It was a good old neck snap on that one, all right.
The other one was a bit kind of but this one was just proper bang.
This was all power, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Got both men here now getting back to their feet. Oh, Lesnar flies in.
Considering as well that Lesnar's hand was, or his arm was over Taker's leg, and then for him to get that lift, you know. And for the Kimura. The Taker being the MMA fan, he should know the proper way to get out of it. A Kimura lock. That doesn't involve a punch to the ribs.
His escape wasn't too bad, and the reversal was pretty good. Lesnar screaming in pain.
Mm-hmm. But even you think about it, like if at that point in the match he is concussed, like he's still holding himself fairly well.
Yeah.
You know, like he reversed it right there to the Kimura, and like you have to be careful now because some people might mix that up now with the cookie or the what's the one that Shayna Baszler uses?
Oh, the Coquina clutch.
Is that not Joe? No.
Oh, that's Joe. Sorry, yeah.
I can't remember what whole one is. I was nearly going to say cocaine myself, but there you go.
Even Lesnar's shoulder blocks, they're scary, aren't they? Like the power.
Yeah.
It's probably like getting hit by a car.
I remember my mum said to me one time she was watching a match, I think it was Batista and somebody else. How does that hurt them? So their shoulders getting driven right into their ribs, man. How do you think it hurts?
I like the way Lesnar was going back into the corner there, but he was still selling the arm injury. Props to Lesnar there. That was pretty cool. Like I like that.
Boom, big boot. But again, that goes back to like Lesnar selling that much for Taker and then just being an absolute monster then for anybody else that he's facing, you know?
Got that scoop off the ropes into an F5. Good lord.
Scary.
Got the kick in. Crowd are going perplectic here. Lesnar can't believe it.
See, because he was going to fall, and that's what he said, come on. Because like Taker just stopped and he said, come on.
Heyman's going absolutely ballistic on the outside.
Yeah, so good.
God, Paul Heyman is absolutely brilliant, isn't he, in these things?
He's sweating just as much as Lesnar is.
No surprise.
There, just that stop there, if you see it on the replay, that stop. And Lesnar knew, so Lesnar just pulled him. Yeah. Look back on it now, you see all those little things after like Taker talking about the match and all, and you see him. You know what he's talking about then. Like all those little spots, you know.
It's mad to see the dynamic in the crowd, isn't it, when you think about it? Here we go, we got a suplex. German.
Stop dead.
Lesnar, even at this stage in the match, to have that kind of energy to be throwing him around like that is
Because that's the only time he really has long matches is if he faces Taker.
Oh yeah, but even so, I mean, he's had a lot of very good matches when he's been in there. You know, I mean, you go back and you look at Lesnar's top 10 matches, like it's a who's who when you think about it. You know what I mean? He's no problem. He's no problem going decent time if need be. You know what I mean? It's just I think when you get a motivated Brock Lesnar in there with the right opponent and the right build up and the right storyline, I think that's when you see the best Brock Lesnar in there. I think when he doesn't fancy it and he's not all in on it, I think that's when you get that sort of like 10, 15 minute, not giving a damn type of thing, you know. But when Lesnar wants to turn it on, he can turn it on. There's no doubt about it. He has done in the past with the absolute best in there, you know. So it's no surprise. Giving Taker an old school beating here in the corner again.
Heyman just shouting at Lesnar like a boxing trainer, just shouting at him.
Do you know what I'd love to find out? I'd love to find out how many punches in total were thrown in the match by both guys.
Yeah, that'd be some tally, alright. Yeah. And punches landed. Here we go, setting up for the last ride. You always know there's going to happen though when the Taker's in the middle of the rope and the opponent goes to the second. There you go. You just know they're going to be grabbed and planted.
And especially when they're kind of when they're punching and then they stop to work the crowd. You know what I mean? He stops to peer at the crowd instead of continue. You know, right? There's your cue. There's your cue to come in under me and away you go. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. We still he didn't get the elevation that we would have wanted. He just kind of dropped Lesnar.
Lesnar again, still selling the arm injury. Looks pretty cool. Just hit him with a tombstone here. Arms are folded. Crowd here must be thinking they're on their way home. Lesnar kicks.
Yep. Taker's Lesnar's getting put in that casket.
On a normal night, that would have been the end, wouldn't it?
Exactly. Well, you think of Michaels and all. It took Michaels what? 2 tombstones in both matches to put him away. Same with Triple H.
But when you think how long these guys have been out here already, you know what I mean?
That's been what? It's been what, 20 minutes, maybe 25 minutes?
At least we're 40 minutes in now, including the entrances. So, you know, you must be at the 25-minute mark, maybe more at this stage. Taker with the famous sit-up. It's after scooping him up again there. Lesnar's after reversing it. The way Lesnar does that, like he just reverses it up, like he's literally after taking a man 280 pounds and just flipping him up onto his shoulders.
Yeah.
Look at Heyman. Crowd are going, what the hell just happened? There we have your man just say, yes, the Taker Street guy.
Yeah, we call him Taker Street guy.
Ref is wondering what the hell's going on. I'm not sure even if the ref had himself convinced. There's Cahill from Cineworld who went over for it. He was in the crowd there in shock.
He just after bug eye guy, is he?
Yeah, he's the guy with his hands on his head with the sort of reddish hair.
Oh, him, yeah.
Cahill, he used to come into us all the time with the shop. Absolutely incredible, isn't it? Crowd can't believe it.
I think Vince was just shouting in the ref's ear, "Make the count! Make the count!" And this is what I was talking about here. Just that stunned at least 2 minutes.
Isn't it it's an interesting dynamic here in the crowd, because you've got a Brock Lesnar crowd there as well, and you've got an Undertaker crowd. But it's like this is like people in the crowd here at the moment just cannot believe it. Taker still, or Lesnar still, you know, holding the arm and stuff like that. You know, this is what people sometimes miss and don't appreciate. We're panning back into the crowd here now. We got 21-1 on the screen on the lightning. Heyman is hugging him like he's his child, basically, you know. got the size of Lesnar even beside Heyman.
Yeah. That is the number, and that is the sight that broke my heart.
There's people there just distraught. They can't believe the streak is gone. Guys there. There's guys now in the stadium there. They're on their phones texting their mates going, oh my God. The funny thing about this, even if you're not a wrestling fan, people knew the streak had been broken. This was huge.
Yeah.
Lesnar with the little wink walking back up the ramp.
Mm.
I think that little wink was a kind of a tip the hat, wasn't it? Really?
Yeah.
That really has been like that. I mean, that's a great match. You know what I mean? No one can believe it. Look at there. There isn't a single person leaving that building. God, that's a massive stadium as well, isn't it? Look at the crowds.
Something else, already.
21-1. The Mercedes-Benz Superdome. Heyman's bound to him now. What's going on here? Lesnar soaking it all in. Taker still in the ring on the flat of his back.
At that stage, a lot of people would say, yeah, Taker's finished after that. But, you know, it was good. He went on for another 6 Manias after that, you know.
I suppose what's your feeling on that? Should he have gone on for more Manias, or should he have, you know, when the streak was broken, should he have called it a day?
Well, as an Undertaker fan, obviously I would have wanted him to go on, but like I think after the streak was broken, you could say, well, maybe we could start taking it a bit easy now, because every year I have to come back and defend the streak. But now that it's gone, I wouldn't really have to have that pressure put on me to train and worry about getting injured either before or after, or even, during the match, you know. And then after the match, when he walks up the ramp, he hits Gorilla and just collapses.
Not surprised. He just spent 40 minutes in the ring with an absolute monster who was being ragdolling him around. He's sitting up in the ring now here trying to get his senses back together. He's after being hit with a couple of F5s. So now he's realising, now it's sinking in the magnitude that the streak is gone. You know what I mean? Staring at the mat. 21-1. He's getting back to his feet now.
I was literally like the first lad that came up where he had his hands on his head like that. I was literally like that for 20 minutes after. I think I remember it was the women's tag match, but I didn't actually, I wasn't watching it, you know.
No, this probably should have been the match that finished that Mania card. Because it doesn't really make sense to have anything following this. You know, it really doesn't. And it doesn't really make sense, especially, I mean, whatever about something following it if the streak is staying intact at 22-0. But for it to go, 21-1, I mean, the crowd must have been shot. I know from being at WrestleMania, you know yourself from being there. I was at Mania 25. I couldn't focus at all after Shawn and Taker. You know. So,
because they just stole the show. Yeah.
Well, I always firmly believe. I know the title is held in high regard, and there's always like people will always say, well, the title should end the show and stuff like that, and agreed most of the time. But if you've got a match like a Taker match with the streak on the line, the magnitude of a Shawn or the magnitude of a Lesnar or a Triple H or whatever it is, where these guys, they're going out there and they're going to give you 200%. I often think that should be the match that finishes out the show.
Yeah.
Because I just don't think. I think to expect the crowd to come up after that and raise their game again, I think it's very difficult to get a crowd to come back like that, you know. But now,
exactly, yeah.
The whole commentary team are on their feet clapping. It's mad when you look at this. Like, I mean, people genuinely did think this was it. It was done, didn't they?
Yeah. I think he himself as well was kind of questioning like, should I just hang up the boots now or keep going? And like, again, from that saying, like all the commentary up on that feet, you know, you would have believed that that would be the end. You know, you'd have believed that, yeah, this is the end. You know, the streak is gone. What are the reason has Taker got to stick around? Because he was never going to wear a title again.
Yeah,
like,
well, he
he
was never. Yeah, I mean, he was never gonna compete in the, you know, in terms of the schedule that it requires to have the title and stuff like that. You know.
Oh yeah.
And you don't want to put it on him short term either to kind of devalue it either. You know, I mean, crowd are applauding him here out of the ring now and stuff like that. You know. I wonder, there must have been a huge sense of relief as well from him as well. Like, he carried this streak, you know, on his back for so long. You know what I mean? I'm sure there must have been a sense of relief as well that, look, it's done now. And as you said, you've gone for a number of WrestleManias and you could just enjoy the moment of WrestleMania instead of carrying the weight of the streak in terms of the fan base year after year after year.
Yeah.
Looks like he was in a proper row though, doesn't he?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, he's heading back up the ramp now. Crowd can't believe it. Have you ever seen a crowd as big to be so stunned and shocked? I mean, you know, they're applauding him out there and stuff like that, but there's so much of that crowd there when you look down on it from this angle. He's walking up the ramp. Like, they're just standing there. They're just stunned. They just don't know what to think. You know?
And for the fact that they weren't kind of cheering a little bit, you probably could have heard a pin drop.
I think, do you know what it is? It's kind of like, sometimes I talk about it at times on the podcast in terms of the Japanese wrestling fan base, that they do be so quiet. It's actually a measure of respect. You know what I mean? Because you have to understand, like, this man has dropped basically what was his life for the last 21 years, 22 years, or whatever it is. You know what I mean? And it's gone now. You know what I mean? So I can't imagine, you know, the mindset of it and stuff like that. The absolute magnitude of it and stuff, you know. So, but I mean, the amount of Taker fans there that I'd say were just sitting there going, "Well, what's just happened?" You know?
If I was there, I'd have been one of those saying, "What just happened?"
Yeah. So there we go. That was that was the match. So thoughts, finishing thoughts here. What's the thinking? Good, bad, indifferent, the right guy, the wrong guy?
Well, I'll answer one of the questions. I think, from my point of view, it was the wrong guy to do it. Not that I dislike Lesnar or that. I just feel it was the wrong guy to do it because I don't think Lesnar needed any juice. You know, like, Lesnar was big in his own right. You know, like, he was at the coming back. He was at there facing John Cena. I think he held the title as well before he faced Taker. So I don't think he needed that much of a push because he's just one of those guys that you can just push to any situation and you're like, okay, this guy will fit here.
Yeah, he's a monster and he's money. He's a monster and he's money no matter what.
Exactly, yeah.
So here's a question for you then. Who should have been the guy?
Roman.
I
know he done it at 33, but I think he probably, if he wasn't in the Shield, because I think they had a match against the New Age Outlaws at WrestleMania at that year, I think. But I'd say if he wasn't in the Shield, I'd say Roman could have probably taken it then.
Yeah, that was the match he had with Roman, though, wasn't a great match. I mean, it pales in comparison to this match, you know what I mean? Like, both guys, and you have to feel for Roman in that match as well. I mean, quite frankly, he was in there, wanted to go. And like Taker was struggling, you know what I mean? Let's be honest here. You know, it paled in comparison to this match, you know.
Even any of his previous matches, you know, you could put that in the handful of bad matches that Taker has had at Mania. Like, there'd be Roman Reigns, Giant Gonzalez, you know, they would probably too, but not for, you know, not because it was a bad match, because Taker purely couldn't go in that match.
Yeah. I think for me, I probably would have went with and I know he left the company and stuff like that under bad terms, stuff like that. But I just wonder what would have happened if they had dropped the streak to Punk. You know, because I thought the
You'd have
build
never
up.
heard the end of it.
No, but I think it would have propelled Punk. Not that he wasn't a star at the time or anything like that, but I think it would have propelled Punk into that echelon of superstardom, if you like. You know the way Punk often talks about he wanted to be in that John Cena rock realm type of thing. You know what I mean? I think if he had broke the streak, I think he'd probably still be there today and still be involved in the business. And I think it would have been monumental. And I also think that if you look at the build-up to Taker's matches, I think one of the best ones was Punk. I think Punk was absolutely outstanding at the time.
Definitely.
If you remember the urn and the pouring of the ashes like sand and like all the stuff that he did, he was just a proper little, like he was like that little sort of runt in the schoolyard that you never get to give a clatter to. So I would have loved to see Punk if the streak was going to be broken. And I think it would have propelled Punk into absolute superstardom, as high into the galaxy as you can propel him. And I think we might still have Punk there today. I think that would have been the cue for Punk to turn around and say, yeah, the company is behind you. This is what you're giving it. Now, what are you going to do? And I think Punk would have been a really good guy as well to leverage the breaking of the streak and propel it to what the magnitude it should be. Like, because that's the thing. The one thing I find with Lesnar, and no disrespect at all, because the match and all was brilliant and stuff like that and all. But I just think, as you said, he didn't need it. So because he didn't need it, he kind of didn't have to do a lot with it. Yeah. Whereas if you look, the breaking of the Undertaker streak should be the monumental thing in your career that propels you to superstardom. And with Lesnar, he was already at superstardom, and how much further can you go? Yeah. You know what I mean? So it was kind of like, when you look back on it a year after and stuff like that, or 6 months after, it was kind of, he did it. It should have never happened, really, you know, that kind of way. Whereas if Punk did it, and Punk was doing all that good stuff that we know psychologically that he could do when he gets something, like his hands on something like this, he would have made a huge deal for years to come. Whereas it kind of faded away and lost its life very quick.
I think the biggest thing as well for, let's say, as you were saying, with Punk breaking the streak, Punk would be able to, put the sly digs in there themselves. But I think the only downfall with Lesnar was that it was Heyman that done most, if not all, of the talking about it for him. And I don't think it gives it that much more of an impact if somebody else is talking about a superstar breaking the streak, whereas Punk had the vocal ability to really rub salt into the wounds if he had broken the streak, like he wouldn't have just come out and just said, like, my client broke the Undertaker's 21 and all undefeated streak at WrestleMania week after week after week on Raw, whereas Punk would do it possibly when you weren't expecting it. He'd be pulling a vignette or he'd be pulling a promo, and next of all, he would say something really bad, and he'd say, well, you think that's bad? I broke the Undertaker streak at WrestleMania, and then that gets the crowd going up a lot more then. I think that's where...
You know what Punk's going to do. Punk could be coming out with an Undertaker casket and all, and he'd be rocking an urn. Exactly, and he'd be digging it in there, and he'd be not... I would compare Punk in this period similar to the way Owen Hart used to go around with the Slammy Award. That kind of way. Yeah. That's what I'm kind of...
the Canadian flag,
that's what I'm kind of thinking, you know what I mean? And I thought that would have been monumental. But I have to say, listen, absolute pleasure looking back on this. I know for you, it's not necessarily it's a double-edged sword, really, because I know you're a Lesnar fan as well, so I know it's a double-edged sword for you. But I know Taker is the man in your world. Listen, this has been an absolute pleasure looking back on this. This has been the 4 Podmen's look back with Steve Mahoney at the Undertaker versus Brock Lesnar, WrestleMania 30, breaking the streak, 21-1. Head over to YouTube, Dynamo Podcast Network, for all the videos. Audio versions of the show are available through Anchor, Spotify, Podbean, Apple iTunes. Let us know your comments here. Let us know what you think. Should the streak have been broken? Should it remain intact? Was Lesnar the right guy? If he wasn't and you wanted it broken, who was the guy that you think should have done it? Or should it be a guy that should have done it that never got the face taker, if that's how you feel? If you want to contact the show on Twitter at @tpodmen, obviously you can hit us up on Facebook, the 4 Podmen, and we look forward to your company again really soon. Stephen, absolute gent.
Thanks for having me, Noise. Hope to be back on again for the 4 Podmen podcast.
Without a shadow of a doubt.